Yes, sir. Burn City Sports back again. Another week of Field to Burn podcast. Jacob Harden, Chris Denson, Franklin Miller, myself, Rowan Donaghy. Uh, Cardinals taking on the 49ers. Last game of the season. Does it matter at all?
No. The 49ers are playing with something. They're playing for that, I would say, 2 seed. So it matters for them. If they get that 2 seed, I don't know. Maybe they don't want to play Aaron Rodgers in the first round, whereas they could be playing the Giants in the first round if they do lose. But they're playing to win. Cardinals still playing to win. I think it's more for them as a tryout for their quarterback. I would like for them to see start David Blow again, just to kind of see, was it a fluke? Because he played a pretty good game, and I think for them, they're going to need a quarterback for those first couple of weeks next season. Um, Kyler Murray, I doubt he'll be back at least for that first 2-3 weeks. So if David Blow can play another great game against a good 49ers defense, I think they have a solid backup option for next season. So from that aspect, yes, it does matter. Maybe the draft pick aspect too. I think they have that fourth pick kind of locked up right now. I don't really see them moving up anymore or down anymore. So, and they're plus 14 underdogs right now. So, yeah, it's good. Not going to be a pretty game, but it's our last game of the season. You can end it on a good note, maybe.
Definitely, yeah. David Blow had a great game Sunday. Anybody else had any thoughts on the Cardinals 49ers this Sunday?
I would echo similar sentiments to what Jacob was saying. I think the most important thing is to see what you got going into next year. But I say you obviously you're going to try to win. At the end of the day, you're playing for pride a little bit. Being in the NFL, division game. You don't like the other team too much. But yeah, I also think that it's very important to see what if David Blau does get another opportunity, who your backup quarterback role is going to be going into next year. And I think he as well, like Jacob, played a great game against Atlanta. I think some stuff happened at the end of the game that that they found a way to lose it. But I think for the most part, it wasn't his fault that they lost. I thought he played terrific. I thought he spread the ball around terrifically. And mind you, this was all without DeAndre Hopkins, their best target. So I think going into next year with Kyler Murray, with the uncertainty of Kyler Murray's injury for the first couple of weeks of the season, since it happened so late, I think it is paramount to see what you got in the backup quarterback, or if you have to go in the offseason and try to find another alternative, especially with the likelihood of a new head coach coming in next year. So David Blau, I know, is playing for either another team, the same team, or another coach, or the same coach. So he has a lot riding on this for him and along with the other players. So I think it's very paramount that they perform well this Sunday.
Yeah, at the end of the day, man, it's always good to just finish the season with a win, especially over your division opponent. Uh, Going to the offseason, Lamar, what you thinking this weekend? The Cardinals, how you want them to finish the season?
Hopefully they can finish strong, but I don't know. The Niners really squeaked by the Raiders, and and Shanahan didn't look too happy after that game. So I expect the 49ers to come out full throttle, and
Yeah, Jacob said they're playing for the second seed, huh?
Yeah, they got to win, so they're gonna come to play.
I think they also have a chance to play for the 1 seed if the Eagles.
Got to try for the first seed because the Eagles lose. So yeah,
crazy. No, that is it's gonna be a big game this Sunday, man. Y'all want to jump over to the Suns? They got 2 games coming up against the Cavs, Miami Heat, the Warriors, and the Nuggets. It's not going to get any easier for them. They've been struggling the past 2 weeks, really. Had a horrible showing Monday against the Knicks. Minuses on everybody in the plus-minus statistic. Chris, what you thinking on the Suns right now?
It's no excuse. I mean, and like I think I said in a article I wrote, and I think like everybody's been saying, nobody's expecting y'all to come out here and run through all these teams with no Booker. Like nobody's expecting that. But the level of play that's being put on, it's just not an excuse, man. I'm sorry, it's just not. This is the point where everybody wants to see, what what DeAndre Ayton can do, what Bridges can do. This is your time where you're gonna have the ball more in your hands, and to go out like that to the Knicks. No, they're not the same Knicks that they have been. They've been doing pretty good, but I mean that was just an embarrassing game from. It's just no excuse, and I see some people saying maybe it's, Monty Williams, maybe it's his fault for not positioning Aiden right or something like that. And, you could probably make that argument, but at the same time, that's just Aiden's game. He's not a punisher in the post. He's not going to back you down, and that's just not his game. He's a turnaround. He wants to be a guard, honestly, if you ask me. He's going to do the mid-range, the turnaround faders. That's just who he is. But, I mean, from start to finish, that whole team, there's no excuse. And, I mean, you're looking at them now, and they're, what I want to say, 8th in the league right now, well, in the conference. How low you can fall in a couple of games, I mean, with no Booker. But, once again, I don't think anybody was expecting them to storm through the rankings without him. It's just the way that you're playing. It does not make any fan feel good if they're watching these games and watching you go out the way you're going out. So,
yeah, it is weird, man. It's Booker, as big of a piece as he is, I didn't expect the whole team's play to fall once he left just for a week or two. When I saw the plus and minuses last week on the game, I never seen everybody in minus like double digits, minus 34, minus 38. It's just embarrassing how they playing. Ayton, to your point, he need to be more aggressive. I think come out more aggressive. Definitely, Franklin. He was talking last week about him not being able to handle the double team as well.
Yeah, it was. I wrote an article on that in terms of like DeAndre Ayton not actually, especially against the Raptors. They did a terrific job just pressing him in the paint with double teams, and whether it was passing out or holding the ball too long, he was just having a hard time with those double teams. And with the injuries to Devin Booker, people are going to see that game and just continue to file double teams at him until he learns how to pick it apart. And to his credit, he did a great job of it at college. And like he said in the post game, where he was trying to read the plays a little too much, but I think if stuff like that continues, it's going to be tough for the Suns to win here. But they've just been losing, honestly, in completely different ways. I mean, in the game against the Raptors, we can say we won on DeAndre having just 4 points, which is unacceptable in itself. But they had 27 turnovers. Yeah. 27 turnovers, which is crazy. In an NBA game. And then not to mention they're the third best three-point shooting team in the league, even without Devin Booker on the floor. And they shot a whopping 27% against the Knicks. And the Knicks didn't shoot the ball that well either. They just beat them defensively, really. And that was their lowest scoring output of the game. And not to mention the free throw shooting, which has been a key thing all season long. With them, with Booker or without Booker, and like it's a continuous struggle. And now they're sitting 8th seed in the conference after just being the first seed like a month and a half ago. So that just goes to show you how small of a window the NBA and Western Conference is.
Yeah, Franklin, it's like you just said. Honestly, it's even with the Knicks, they're not even really playing like. You got Randall, you got Brunson, and then you got guys like Quickly and Grimes that are playing. You got McBride giving them. These are not guys that are like high-level all-stars, aside from maybe like a Julius Randle, the numbers he's putting up in Brunson. You're getting beat by pretty much a lot of significant role players. And Ayton said something the other day where he said, I'm not used to us not having any fight in us. I'm used to, if we're down by 100, we're going to come out. And I'm like, dude, more than half of the fight now is you. Like, you are the fight. Like, what does that even mean? Like, it starts with you at this point. So, like, I don't know if that was like trying to like, not really excuse himself, but it's like, dude, it literally starts with you at this point. For the next couple of weeks, it's going to be on you. And so they're feeding off of you. So I don't know.
It seems
Yeah.
almost as if they're taking it easy. Like they came into this season thinking, all right, well, we just went for the record last season for most wins, and the season before that we were just as good. It seems like they came out with the same kind of mindset. And they started off the year, looking good, and they just haven't kicked in that gear and realized that these teams are catching up. They're surpassing, and they're just as talented as the Suns and the 8 other teams in the conference that are just as
Right.
talented as the Suns. And they just have not adjusted. They haven't watching their games. It's like even chasing rebounds, something as simple as that. They don't look like they're showing any energy, any effort. They're kind of thinking of it as, all right, everyone's making fun of us for being that regular season team, and we don't show up in the playoffs. So here, we'll not give our 100% during the regular season. We'll be there for playoffs. Well, what happens if you don't even make the playoffs? And I would like to see them have the same intensity night in, night out. And that's just not what they're doing right now.
Yeah, and I mean, even with Aiden, it's like, dude, if you could just even just rebound a little bit more. I mean, even against the Knicks, it's like he only had 5 rebounds. I mean, that's not, you can't cut that any other way besides that's not, okay, you're not getting offensive rebounds. Get defensive rebounds. Those are supposed to be a gimme for a player at your caliber. I'm sorry. And he has more nights than none like that. And it goes away when he does 15 rebounds one game. And people like, oh, the second coming is here. He's here. And it's like, let's give it a couple games and see if he keeps it up. And then you play the Knicks and you only get 5 rebounds. Torrey Craig had 7 rebounds, which was the most out of anybody, which it's not good if you're Aiden. I mean, it's just not.
Rebounding and free throws of both of y'all's points and Jacobs. That's how you win ball games, man. Without rebounding the basketball, making free throws, pretty much walking uphill on that point.
Yeah, free throws are easy points. Gotta have them.
Yep, and also one last thing is to Chris's point of just in terms of when they're down, or I forgot who said it. It was either Chris or Jacob, but when they're down and there's no fight. Oh, it was Jacob. When they're down, there's no fight. A lot of those times when they're down by that much, and the player they can look to is a guy like Devin Booker. Well, he's not on the floor right now. So they got to find ways to not only just weather the storm, but just come out with better effort. And honestly, I hate to say this, a part of that comes down to coaching as well on Monty's part. He's got to get them guys a little bit more prepared.
He looks flustered, man.
For these games.
Yeah, that brings up what I was going to say. Something going on in that clubhouse that we don't know about, because they be out there looking dead, like they ain't motivated to play, and like Franklin said, that falls on coaching. So are they not listening to Monty, or just out there it's just weird,
I consider Monty one of the best coaches in the league, but
Yeah.
he's got to make some adjustments here without Devin Booker, because the team's falling flat every single night and they're losing in different ways. So they got to tighten up.
You can't just depend on your name after a while, like Monty Williams. It's like the great coaches always found a way to adjust. If you look at any of them, the Popoviches, the Phil Jacksons, all of them find a way to adjust. So if you really want to get a ring to Phoenix, instead of being the regular season champs that they're kind of known to be, and that's not playing in their favor right now, you got to find a way to adjust. I mean, you get into it enough with Aiden visibly, as we already see, you may as well go ahead and try to be aggressive and hey, we're going to try something new going forward as far as trying to increase what you're doing while you're out there. I mean, that's just the reality of it.
I know we talked about this when he was injured, but it just popped in my head just now about to switch things up a little bit, to throw Cameron Payne back in the starting lineup. Aiden seemed to play better with him in a fast-paced style instead of slowing it down and back to the basket. I know it's disrespectful to Chris Paul to even ask this, but do you think it's in the best interest of Phoenix to start Cameron Payne, just to shake something up, maybe even for 10 games, just to see if they can catch a little run?
I don't think it's disrespectful, honestly. And I know people get really hot and touchy about that because it's Chris Paul, but you got to look at the times. This isn't the Hornets Chris Paul anymore. This isn't the Clippers Chris Paul or the Houston. This is the Phoenix Suns Chris Paul, who you got to be careful with his minutes. And no, Cameron Payne isn't a all-star caliber point guard, but can he get the job done in the meantime? To just at least give him more relief. Absolutely, he's shown that. I think the only way you don't say that is if you're being biased about it, because he's shown he can at least carry them when Chris Paul was out for all that time, and I think people forget that. So yeah, I think you got to lean on him a little bit more right now, even more with Booker being out. Shamit's kind of been in and out, but yeah, you got to lean on Payne for sure.
Yeah, imagine Chris Paul coming in the second unit, just directing things there. I think that'd be a nice fit moving forward in his career, but I am no expert. I just think Cameron Payne, the way he pushes it, he brings the whole team energy.
Will his ego allow him to do that?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Lamar. That's literally what I was going to say. It is an ego thing. Is anytime one of those all-stars gets to that point, even in his little banana boat club, if you think about Carmelo Anthony, that's his big thing is, did he want to come off the bench? And no, he didn't want to come off the bench. And you kind of got to wake up and smell the roses at some point and say, I'm not that same guy anymore. These guys are beating me up the court. I can't, and like you said, Payne comes in and tempo takes off. And they kind of need that versus that set offense, because that set offense does not normally click all the time for them. So you need that fast break, unpredictable offense, because Chris Paul can't really do that at a high level back and forth like he used to, which shouldn't be expected. I mean, he's 37 years old. So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think they need Chris Paul plays like playoff basketball, and sometimes they just need to let loose and run and not worry about every possession, especially with those young players on the wing. And DeAndre Ayton, he seems to be uncomfortable with his back to the basket and being aggressive. And
yeah, I mean, I would echo. I don't think it's really much of a Chris Paul thing. I would say more so. I get what everybody's saying though, because when they're on their win streak, they're playing with a lot more tempo, and I think that's what Cameron Payne brings, is a lot more fast pace and running gun style of offense that you kind of want to see, and that kind of helps DeAndre Ayton kind of get more into the game. But even with Chris Paul out there, I think Chris Paul facilitates the game wonderfully. I think he gets people in the right spots. I think he gives his players a great number of open shots to put up. I think with anything, though, at the end of the day, it really comes down to the aggression and assertiveness and force that DeAndre Ayton plays with in the paint. I think it starts with that to see, especially without Devin Booker, to see whether they can win a game or not. There's only so much the bench can do. There's only so much three-point catalyst can do. They need DeAndre Ayton to step up. And then at that point, I think things will start to take off. But until then, it's kind of a wait till Cam Johnson comes back, wait till Devin Booker comes back, and then we go on the run. But that won't sit well if it's continuing like that. If they were to make playoffs anyway. So
that's what I was going to say. I was going to ask all of you. Right now, they're 8th in the West. They're literally tied with the Warriors for the same record. I mean, they could easily overtake them at this point. Where do y'all see them sitting by the time Booker actually works his way back? Because you got to think, even when he works his way back, is he going to play that full starter minutes? Probably not right away at least. But where do y'all think they'll be at that point when he even comes back?
How long is he going to be out real quick?
A month.
Yeah, a month.
So you're talking like
technically 3 weeks.
Yeah, he's been out a week so far. So yeah.
How much longer do they have on Cam Johnson now?
Ooh, that's a good question. I know he's still doing. I know he's doing side work still. Like he's like warming up and he's starting to do like sprints and like jogging, but they haven't given like a firm indication of like when he'll return. So I'm guessing he's probably on the same wavelength as D-Book. That would be my guess, but you never know. He could come back earlier than expected. But I would say about a month for campaign, probably.
Yeah.
Then I say first week of February with D-Book and Cam coming back possibly. I think they'll still be around where they at now. I think they might drop maybe to the 9th or 10th, but I don't think they're going to fall to where it's out of reach to have a hot streak and get back to the 4th or 5th seed by the end of the season.
Yeah, I know, like, I was looking at the schedule earlier this morning with CJ, our other colleague, and I know that there's like a home stretch where the Suns have to play the Cavs, which they also have to play Wednesday, but they play the Cavs. They play the Nets, which that is, oh man. They play the Mavericks, so we already know about them. And then they also got the Pacers, who have really exceeded expectations this year. So it's not really getting easy for them. So based on the question, it's possible that they probably will stay around where they are. I can see them maybe dropping to 9th seed, especially if they continue playing like the way they are. But there's going to be games where they'll get, though. I think they have too much. They're
running into a lot of teams from what you just said, Franklin. A lot of those teams, the Pacers, the Nets, they're all finding out who they are at this point.
I forgot to say the Grizzlies.
The Grizzlies. Yeah, and the Pacers and the Nets are kind of like coming into their own. They're finding out who they are. Like the Nets are clicking. The Pacers are clicking. I mean, those are two teams that can literally put a beat down on you on any given night. So, yeah, it could be bad. It could be bad.
Yeah, schedules. They got one of the toughest schedules this month. Definitely.
Yeah, we've been saying it all year too. It's only a matter of time before these teams heating up. We're seeing it right now. I mean, the Mavs are riding 6-game win streak. The Warriors are on a roll.
Lucas really.
They're riding a 5-game win streak, and it was only a matter of time before these teams start heating up, and now they're heating up, and now they're passing the Suns, and the Suns are sitting there like, what the heck just happened? And
to the point that Chris said earlier, nobody's scared of the Suns.
No,
not
at all.
Nobody's scared of the Suns, and that's with or without Devin Booker. Nobody's scared of the Suns.
And people are scared to say that, but that is the God's honest truth. Does he pose a threat? Absolutely, but can we roll over them with the right game plan and not a lot of resistance? That's very possible.
The map showed it was possible, and
the map showed.
Everybody looks at that Game 7 game and go, okay, they were fully healthy. Everybody was there, and look what happened. So I don't think the Suns have had that game this year where they've really shown that they still are that team that they were 2 years ago, maybe. But they haven't had that commanding win yet this year.
It's mostly been statement wins with like a Devin Booker 40 piece or something like that. But you're finna go against a Cavs team where
against the Mavs,
but you're finna go against
they're going on a 21-0 run.
Donovan Mitchell put up 71 points last night. Like, like, come on, man. These teams are figuring out what works, and the Suns have yet to figure that out. And like Franklin said, a lot of that revolves around coach to figure that out while Booker is out. And again, like it was, reported earlier, Sarver, the former owner, kind of still has his hands in what trades can and can't be made. I don't know if that's playing a lot into it, but now people are kind of looking like, okay, is James Jones really the problem in holding up trades, or is it a Sarver thing? So
that blew my mind, man. I didn't think
that's
that
crazy.
would be possible.
That's wild.
I know. I was reading a little bit of that piece that Brian Windhorst put out, and I was like, oh wow. Like, because a lot of it has to do with like finances with other players that he can say, no, I don't want to pay that much. And I'm like, oh.
That is messy, man.
Dang.
That is just nasty business. I'm sorry. That's nasty.
And he's not even the owner anymore. That's the crazy part. So that's like, dang.
It's like you can just still be petty though and say, no, I'm not going to let y'all trade for a whoever. Like works on paper doesn't work for my paper. So, no thanks.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Definitely crazy. But yeah, man, we'll see what happens. Like you guys said, maybe they stay up, maybe they drop to like the 9th seed or something like that. Hopefully it doesn't get too bad. But like I said, all these other teams are starting to click, and it just looks bad right now. So,
and I mean, the good news is everybody's really close together. So that's the only thing that got the Suns in somewhat a decent spot, but. Man.
Yeah, man, they're at 20 wins. The Nuggets are first, and they're at 24. You put together somehow miraculous run in these next couple games, you're right back in it. You kind of hold face until Booker and Cameron Johnson gets back, and, we see what happens, So maybe Sarver stops being petty and lets some trades go through, but we'll see.
Yeah, I say just trade wire to the All-Star break and get healthy at the All-Star break. And after the All-Star break, that's when it's time to start playing your best ball.
Yeah, Lamar. I was
Go-
thinking that earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I was thinking that
I
earlier. I was
seen
like,
watched a lot of basketball. I've seen many teams limp into the All-Star break, and after the All-Star break, they start taking off. The next thing you know, they won the championship. So
The
they just gotta,
Boston Celtics was that team last year.
yes,
The Boston
yes,
Celtics was that team last year. So
yes.
you
yeah.
never
This
know.
time,
Go
yeah,
Seas.
this time last year, everybody talking about Tatum and Brown. One of them got to go.
Break them up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now,
It was like, is
Now
Udoka a
they're the
good
best
head
deal in the
coach?
league.
yeah,
Yeah, it was like, are they really that good? So yeah, the Suns could turn it around. And like you said, Lamar, I was thinking that earlier. Like maybe at this point, just hold out until the All-Star break. That's when teams get desperate to make more moves. They're not going to buy the Suns into anything at this point with Crowder. It's kind of like, no, you got to sit there with him right now, you know. So maybe come All-Star break, people are a little bit more desperate. You're going to have to give up a little more to get them out of there, but it's just what it is now.
Yeah, it's crazy. We didn't even talk about that, man. The Crowder trade and who the best fit would be.
Well, like last week, we were talking about how everybody was saying that a deal almost went through with Rui Hachimura, and that didn't go through because the Suns rejected it. And then Hachimura turns around and drops like a career high on us, like a couple of days later. Yeah, so it's like, I know that shouldn't like make them jump back on his deal, but it does kind of make you think someone of his caliber, with his length, his versatility,
He can shoot
maybe that's
too.
somebody you should be trying to get, in if you can for that Crowder deal, because like I said, it's probably not going to get better than that where you get a star caliber player that you're looking for him. I don't see that happening at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. How timing is everything with trades, basketballs, and stocks.
And it's weird because, if you trade for a starter player, and I think, I was talking about this with someone else, if you get a starter player, okay, fine. Who do you bench for that starter player? You just signed Cameron Johnson to an extension. You got Bridges under an extension. And not saying none of those people would be against going to the bench, but it's like, who do you really turn around and say, all right, well, we got this guy, so now you go? Or do you take this starter caliber player that you went and searched for so high and say, to the bench you go, which could be a thing, but maybe a Hachimura is as good as it gets. Somebody like him, maybe that's the ceiling, and maybe that's all you really need. I mean, who knows?
He could stretch the floor at that 4th position if they ever go small.
Yeah, and I mean, length has been killing the Suns. The Grizzlies, that was the problem. The Wizards, both times between Kuz and Hachimura, that length kills them. I mean, they don't have the most versatile players without, if you take away a Bridges and Cameron Johnson who's out, they don't have that defensive versatility. I mean, the Grizzlies were just, it was like, forget shooting, we're just going to take it to the paint on them because they can't guard us in there. Like, they can't really do anything with us. So, yeah, I think that's as good as it gets.
Is there a big man out there you would like to see them go after? Because can we, they trade DeAndre Ayton sometime this month, huh? Like the 11th?
Yeah, he becomes eligible, I think, coming up soon.
You think there's any interest in him, or any interest in trading him at all from the Suns?
There's probably definitely going to be interest from other teams, but it depends on who's going to want to take up that contract this late in the season, and not to mention what are you going to get in return for him. And I think with both those being the case, there's really nothing much you can do as Suns but to ride it out. And at this point, you're just kind of...
It seems as if it's a coachable fix.
Yeah.
And
you still think that after what's it been 4 seasons?
This is the first it's really been. I mean, it's not like he's been a superstar in the past, but it's really been a noticeable impact over. Maybe it's just because it's the first time in 3 years that they're losing games, but it's one of those things where you haven't really noticed it until now, or to this effect, and it seems like something that could be a quick fix for Monty Williams, just getting on him about trying to draw a foul, getting inside the paint. But there's no change week after week, and everybody is screaming, and all the fans are wanting to see a change, and there just is nothing happening. It's very odd.
But
Williams doesn't realize it, or none of the other players have been like, hey.
I think he hears it. He just doesn't.
My personal opinion is they don't like each other.
No, I
I
don't
think
think
it's definitely
Yeah,
I do.
yeah.
it's something going on.
I really think there's something there too between.
It's something going
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
There was the
And
one video with Devin Booker after Ayton. I want to say he missed a layup, and ESPN posted the video to their Twitter, and it was Devin Booker on the bench, kind of giving like a disgusted look after he missed the layup. And it seems like that's the case with a lot of the players. I don't know who's the main root of the problem, but this, of course, this isn't anything new. This has been kind of a known thing, but and maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to trade him away.
And it could be like not a personal problem thing, because I think sometimes, like even when Devin Booker went to Moss Point to retire his jersey, everybody came. Could that be a PR stunt? Yes, but maybe it was just out the good, genuine of their heart. It could just be a, hey, we're cool all day long, but on the court, we just don't mesh. Which this wouldn't be the first time that's happened. And if Ayton did go to another team, maybe he does look like an all-star, which kind of brings me to my next question with y'all. Obviously, like right when we started, when we joined, Hop the Board with Burn City, the Suns matched his deal with the Pacers. Looking back now, should they have let him walk for that much money? I know it's still early, but looking at where he's at now, we thought he was going to come in and prove I deserve the Luka Doncic money and the Trae Young money like my other classmates were getting.
Yeah.
But now it's like, should they have even given him that much money? Like they instantly matched it. And it's like,
Well,
I think, go ahead, Frank.
I'll say this: there's a reason why they waited for someone to offer first, because they really didn't know. They probably knew what they had in them, but they probably honestly couldn't find anybody in the market at that time that was a better alternative or an upgrade for him. Hence why they matched it. Now, with that being said, I personally think you could have gone the route of like getting a much cheaper guy, and then focusing all your attention more so on D Book. But because in my opinion, a lot of the issues, especially with not getting to the foul line, starts with the physicality of DeAndre Ayton, and I think that's been a problem. And I think them not getting to the free throw line has been many reasons why they haven't won a ton of games as is. So it's the little things like that. I mean, I know he did great in that 2020, was it 2019, 2020, or no, 2020 postseason where they went to the finals. I know he went. I know he did his thing in that realm, but like you said numerous of times, Chris, there's just been plenty of times where like he'll have a great game and then just disappear out of nowhere, and it's just like, oh my god, and the inconsistency is just so, But I mean, personally, I think looking back at it, they're like they might have just let him stay in Indiana, but
when you have big mans across the league putting up 30 a night, and it's a big man league right now, and the Suns are just getting killed because they don't have that. They don't have a Zion. They don't have a Jokic. They don't have a Giannis. They don't have any of that. And I would even consider him a top 15 in the league for that. And it's hard to win a game in this kind of league when you just can't get a board. You can't get to the basket.
Boards are important. I mean, and they could have even did something. And no, he's not a flashy name like Ayton, but the Pacers had Miles Turner. You look at Miles Turner, is he like putting up perennial superstar numbers? No. But is he getting to the foul line? Is he getting the rebounds? Is he doing the big man work? Yeah, he is. I mean, you can't even argue that.
Defense.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even argue that. You may end up seeing that when they play the Pacers, and even if he doesn't, when you go look at the stat lines, that's all you want for Ayton. I feel like everybody wants that for him more than him sometimes. Like, you want him to be dominant, and he's just not going to do that. So
that's just not his game, unfortunately.
No.
Like, if anything, he's physical on the defensive end because he plays tremendous. He plays tremendous defense at times, and even to his credit, like it gets him in foul trouble. And I just wish he brought that to the offensive side when he's in the paint with these other centers, because my goodness, like There's
And the
times where he
Suns
gets
even
20. There's
recognize
times where he
that.
gets like 25 and 16, and it's a super quiet game for him. And I'm just like, man, but
Yeah.
like it's just
That
good.
Knicks showing though, it was so crazy because the Suns, everybody's retweeting trying to get those All-Star votes. And at halftime, the Suns tweeted his dunk, and they were like, "DA dunk, go vote All-Star." And people were in the comments going, "You can't read the room. The dude has like 4 points and like 2 rebounds.
That's
Like,
crazy.
what are y'all like? What? Read the room. Wrong time. Like wrong game. No.
Nah,
They
definitely.
tried, Chris. They tried, man.
Yeah.
I think they was forced to sign him back because you don't want to let him walk for nothing because the perceived motion and the potential, just like y'all just said, it's a coaching problem maybe to just tell him to do it. I think other teams see that, so they're gonna offer him the max, thinking that they could be the one to fix the problem. But in 4 or 5 seasons, even when he was in college, he just shows, like y'all said, he don't have the aggressiveness.
Sometimes you are who you are after a certain long amount of time.
Right.
So,
Right.
Man, this would all been simple if they just drafted Luka.
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
This
they
would
go
all
on
been
that.
simple if they just
You got a whole bunch of teams saying
Over
that.
Ayton back then.
Right? Yeah, it's a lot of them now, frankly.
Shoot, even
Or,
Trae Young, bro. Even Trae Young. It would have been simple.
looking
But
back though
I
now,
digest.
and I don't know how y'all feel about this, and once again, still too early. I get it. Looking back now, we don't know what the package was. Like we have rumors and stuff. Should the Suns have pushed for that Durant trade more? Like when he was like more available back in the offseason. Like looking at it now, it's like maybe we should have go ahead and pushed what we were offering to the table a little bit more, or let Ayton be that centerpiece that they wanted him to be at first. Like they wanted an Ayton. So yeah, we probably should have gave him Ayton. I mean,
should have threw Ayton, a couple picks. Who else you want?
Yeah.
I start turning around and pointing at people. Who you want?
I would say the entire depth of the team would have gotten kind of taken apart. So if in a situation where if D-Book and the other players got hurt, the Suns team that KD was on this team, it'd been a little bit of a similar situation as we got now. But yeah,
I would trade, even though Aiden is younger, I would still trade the few years I have left with Durant for a Booker Durant tandem. I mean, I would
for 3 seasons.
Yeah, I would have thrown pretty much like you said, anything that would have made sense. Because like you said, depth-wise, we're kind of still looking at the same depth. Maybe Damian Lee, Torrey Craig, all those guys are probably still here. Yeah, Dwayne Washington, they're all still here. None of them are really going to make the boat ship or sink as far as, making that trade work. So, yeah, you want Ayton, fine. Let's make this work.
It probably would have been a package of Ayton and Cam Johnson that would have had to go, and Chris Paul. Oh no, not Chris Paul. My fault. They already have Kyrie. But
I think they wanted Bridges at one point, and I love Bridges. I do. It's just you got to be more consistent, man. That's the only thing. So
I think the one thing with Bridges, I think a lot of people want him to be that number 2 guy, but I don't think that's his role. I don't think that's his role. And that's not a problem. I think he's actually a very important player on a championship team.
I think
from a defensive perspective, from a slashing perspective. They don't have a consistent number 2 right now. That's the problem. And it's fine if Bridges isn't that guy, but the guy that's supposed to be that guy that's getting paid like that guy is not producing. So they go on and on about DA, but yeah, it's just.
I just want him to be better, man.
Yeah.
Look, if he ever came in here and look, we just want what's best for you, man. I'm sorry. All right?
We want you to be a Hall of Famer, dude.
Yeah. Please show up, man. Please.
We want you to be a match player, so we don't have to keep saying, "Oh, the Suns lose again," and Ayton drops.
Make
2
me
points
apologize.
Please give us more 2020 nights, please. Come on.
He'll get traded to a different team, and he'll start putting up those 2020 nights every night.
I said that. If he went to the Pacers, he probably would be putting up those numbers. And it would be on y'all didn't think I could do it? Fine, I'm going to prove it to you.
Yep.
That's
what it is.
He would 1,000% put 2020 with the Pacers with Tyrese Halliburton giving him alley-oops every night. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, they be pushing it, man. They young.
Yeah. You make them run.
I don't think he got it in him though. Wherever he go, I think he just always been the best and never really chased nothing.
Yeah, man.
But before we close the show, I did want to send love and prayers to DeMar Hamlin, his family, and
Yeah, man.
the whole football world. I wanted to close out on that. If anybody y'all had any thoughts or anything y'all wanted to say on that,
Yeah,
and anything you want to say about the NFL, and I know they were talking about pushing this week's season back. I don't know how y'all feel about any of that. We can go around the room and then close the show out.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll start.
yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
just my prayers are with DeMar Hamlin and his family. I know, like, this is a reminder of like how important life is, really. And I know it's like a cliche thing to say, but it really is, especially with a sport like football. It's like you never know when your last breath in this world will be, but also just like in the game, you never know when it's a violent sport, and not just like my prayers go out to DeMar Hamlin, my prayers go out for like the city of Buffalo, city of Cincinnati, even T. Higgins, who I know like he was part of that play, and I know if something like that were to happen and I was a part of that play, I'd be thinking a whole bunch of negative thoughts of like, dang, if I had just like maybe spun or if like I just like got down, but it's like, and I just want him to know that that's not his fault at all, and that's just a freak accident, but you know, that the whole NFL world and the whole Burn City sports crew is behind him. So I'm just praying for him that he can make it through with this and everything.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's the sport of football, and it's so weird because we like it because of the competitiveness, because of the toughness, competitiveness, and we like it because of those type of plays. Had he not had that unfortunate situation happen, we're all oohing and ahhing at that type of hit. And obviously, like you said, Franklin, prayers go out to him. I hope he does make a full recovery. And it's not trying to mix it, but it's kind of I'm disappointed in the league because of the fact that it was a situation where they, honest to God, thought that it was right to continue that game with a grace period of a warm up, and it took those coaches coming together and saying, "Look, this isn't right. Nobody's heart is here anymore. Let's just nix it." But you would think the NFL, having that stigma of only caring about money more than their players, would have found that is an opportune moment to say, "Look, let's give this let's stop this." But no, you still wanted to keep this game going, even though you see these players crying and visibly upset and emotional because of what they just witnessed happen. So I think it's a thing in the future where you're going to see, the league keeps getting more progressive towards helmet to helmet, and that was just a freak accident. I'm not sure how you can even have a protocol in place for something like that, but I don't know where the future of football lies years and years down the line if you start seeing more of that happen. Where do we go from here? But yeah, like Franklin said, all of our thoughts and prayers are with Hamlin, and I wish him a speedy recovery. I hope he does. He's resting up well right now, so definitely.
Yeah, that was a crazy play, man. I was watching the end of the Lakers Hornets game. I didn't even know what happened. So everybody's on Twitter was like, "Oh, this guy ain't got up yet." So I turned to it. It's like, oh, first thing I thought was a helmet to helmet hit. And I saw the hit on Twitter. I was like, wow.
You didn't even look back.
After that, I was so caught up in watching all the post game stuff about it, trying to see if they gonna say if you're okay or not. I didn't even know Mitchell scored 71 points till about 10 o'clock today while I was at work. I was like, wow, he scored 71 points. It was like an afterthought.
Yeah. It was an afterthought. Yeah.
But one thing I know about the NFL, they're gonna get them games in. It's too much money involved. They don't care.
Much.
I mean, there's too much money involved.
Too much.
And everybody love it. Just look at Christmas. Just look at the Christmas Day. They had the ratings up for the basketball and the NFL head to head. That week Rams and Bronco game had like 10 times more views than any NBA game that day.
It's crazy.
Yeah. They just came out with some more news. He's on 50% oxygen now instead of 100%. Yeah, still sedated, but that's looking like he's improving. So that's good news.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. Yeah, I think everybody's got to learn to read the room with that, man. It's somebody's life. Like I don't know if y'all saw Skip get like
Oh,
Dude,
roasted.
they've been killing them all day.
dude, everybody was in on the comments underneath, like saying, "What is wrong with you?" Like,
Yeah, it's wild with social media. I mean,
He
something like
even
that.
got on Undisputed and tried to do like a
Shannon
cover up. And
Sharp didn't even show up today.
yeah, and some people are like, oh,
But-
maybe he, and I'm like, nah, I think that's
He was there yesterday, and
Yeah.
I've been reading some stuff online that Skip been starting to wear on him a little bit too.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
It's
especially
start to
after,
wear on me.
Yeah,
yeah, not only just with that, especially with like his comment on towards him about like how
Yeah,
Brady was better than
the
you,
Brady.
like it's getting really out of hand with Skip. But that's neither here nor there. But it's just, what he said was uncalled for sure yesterday.
They started
he got
on
demolished.
they started on Bart Scott this afternoon too.
Because you
Trying
just
to-
got to know how to like communicate, and I'd like to think that's not Skip's heart. I just like to try to see, but it's like, dude, you come off more
entertainment.
times
He needs
wrong than not. Yeah, and you don't know how to articulate when it's time to articulate. Like,
Yeah.
I think he's so deep in it, man. He don't know
He's so
what's
deep
right
in
or
the
wrong.
views and trying to get people talking, and
This is exactly what he wants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He said that, but I can guarantee you, 100. I bet a lot of people tuned in this morning at 6:30
yeah,
to see what he
Oh,
was going to say.
100%.
because they wanted to see, like,
Yeah.
okay, are you gonna recant your statement, or are you gonna apologize? And like I said, he tried to do good, but when I read the comments, people were like, "No, they should fire you. Like, it's over. Like, you burnt that bridge." So I think they lose a lot of viewers.
Yeah, it mind boggled me, but it also didn't surprise me about how many people just don't like him. Like it came
out.
It really
in the
came out of like
comments,
how
like-
they really felt about Skip after a situation like that. But even still, man, it's like at the end of the day, these players, like, they ain't numbers, man. It's not just
They're
numbers.
real people.
Like they're real people. This is like a real Christ-like
And
situation.
he had
Just
like
happened.
notable names. Like somebody on Twitter was like, the amount of blue check marks coming out the
It was a
woodworks
lot
right
of-
now on him.
A lot of football players and basketball players, like
My
And
word.
analysts.
Yeah.
And analysts. It was bad, man.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Just gotta learn to read the room. But yeah, prayers to Hamlin, man. And I hope, like
okay.
Jacob said, I'm happy to hear he's doing better. So I hope it's more positive news when we wake up tomorrow, honestly.
definitely.
Yes, sir. We'll be back next Tuesday, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Phoenix time. Burn City Sports presents Feel the Burn podcast. Thank y'all for listening.